questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it, and I want to thank the witnesses for being here as well. I would ask that a slide be placed up here in just a second, but first I want to ask Mr. Halford a question. You were the recipient of the notes taken by a Trout Unlimited colleague at a meeting between the EPA and several opponents of the Pebble mine. And I'd like to point everyone's attention to some excerpts from these notes in light of the fact that we just heard Secretary Cohen testify under oath that there should never be any politics involved in the review process. But I would point your attention to these notes, and this was notes that were from Richard Parkins, who was the project leader of the Bristol Bay project and working for the Environmental Protection Agency. It says in where the bottom red line, this is what he said. This is the EPA's own representative at the time at this meeting. It said that clarified, it is stressed that while a 404C determination would be based on science, he says politics are as big or a bigger factor. Now, how do you, was it your understanding, Mr. Halford, Senator Halford, that politics would play as big or as big a factor as what Mr. Parkins said, than the science in EPA's decision to use Section 404C to stop the Pebble mine, and bearing in mind what Secretary Cohen had just testified just a few minutes ago?
Well, certainly you're talking about something that happened in 2011. I don't remember anything about it, and I can see the date, but I don't know. I mean, I don't think politics should be the factor. Obviously, that's not the way the process
Tuesday, February 22nd, 2011 at 4:26 p.m. That's the date and time.
I can't remember that conversation at all. If it was a memo, particularly if it came by email, I'm one of those people that still lives in an analog world, so I have trouble just keeping track of all my emails.
Well, in light of the fact that we just heard Secretary Cohen say that in these types of decisions, when we're using, supposedly using science, and we have the EPA's own project leader saying that science does play a big factor, but politics can be a big factor or bigger factor. That leads me to believe that this is not really based on science after all.
I have no idea how he was saying it. He might have been saying it as an objection to what politics has influence on. I don't know. Okay. I don't recall.
Mr. Collier, EPA's Bristol Bay project leader Richard Parkin, whose name and quote is here, admitted that politics would play as large a role as the science, in fact, even a larger role, in its determination to stop the Pebble mine. If this is the feeling of the agency at EPA, how then can the judgment and impartiality of the EPA be trusted at all in these decisions?
Congressman, obviously I've questioned their judgment in these proceedings, and I think this is one example of why. I'd like to point out to the committee that Mr. Parkin was the leader of the scientific effort for this, and this is what he's saying. And I think that's endemic of the problem. Mr. Congressman, I've probably read more internal memos and emails regarding this situation than anyone else in this room. And this is just one of dozens of examples of this kind of concern. And the criticism of Secretary Cohen's report that it's not independent, what hasn't been criticized is the detailed citation throughout that 350 pages where every one of his statements has been cited back to a document from EPA to verify its authenticity.
Thank you very much to both of you witnesses, and I think the only conclusion you can draw is that science is not the biggest criteria they use to come up with these permits. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.